Welcome to the Juicy as Fuck Method. It is Kelly. We are diving into the SIP system. And today we are revealing the KINK, the unresolved tension within the psyche. My intentions for you are that we dive into the KINK fully. You understand it at a deep fucking level and it starts to unravel you. Unravel the frozen clamps, the conditioning, the programming, the density in your body. And it brings you more life, more force, more juice, more you. For the greatest good of all, my intentions are to increase your voltage, your capacity, your erotic intelligence that moves through your body. So let's get started. If the ache is the holy fucking heartbreak, the KINK is this sacred sabotage. It is how the contradiction starts to move through you. As a habit, as a compulsion, as a pattern, as this eroticized pain. The KINK is this reenactment of your programming, and we disguise it as our preference. Do you prefer this, or is this programming? That is the fucking question. Here at the KINK, your subconscious isn't blocking your desire. It is attempting to fulfill it. The subconscious mind always wants to fulfill. But it's using an old, outdated operating system, an outdated blueprint, old fucking architecture. You can't build shit on a shitty foundation. And that's where your subconscious mind is manifesting from. You run a corrupted file internally around love, around safety, around power, around worth. So when you reach for love, your system pulls up abandonment. It pulls up the file of abandonment. When you desire money and wealth and power, it pulls up the file. It replays the memories of struggle. Not because you're fucking broken, but because your system is running this KINK. This KINK tape of your past, of your pain, of your lineage that's been stored in the cells of your body. It is this quantum confusion between the resonance and reality. Your frequency field will always recreate what feels familiar rather than what is foreign. Or what feels good. What you really, truly want. Your KINK is your adapted eroticism. It is a sacred coping mechanism. It is where your pain got patterned into your pleasure. You get off on your pain because it's familiar. It is the place where you equate suffering with your safety. It is the subconscious agreement. It is the subconscious contract that if I can't truly have what I want, I will at least get high off the ache, at least get high off the chase. And so that's what you create. You build entire realities around the almost, around the maybes, around the emotional bondage that masquerades as your intimacy. Most women, what they call a problem in the SIP system is actually not a fucking problem at all. The KINK isn't the issue. It is your unconscious relationship to the KINK. Because until a woman understands that distinction right there, she's going to spend all of her time trying to heal what's actually trying to be revealed. The kink isn't random. It is this frozen intelligence in the body. It is adapted life force. It is survival architecture wrapped, encaging your life force, your energy, your aliveness. It is capping out your capacity. Because the psyche doesn't create patterns just for the hell of it. The nervous system eroticizes whatever helped it survive fragmentation. Do you hear that? The nervous system will prioritize whatever helped you cope to survive a fragmentation, a fracture within you. And that's the piece that we're missing. The body doesn't give a fuck about truth. It cares about continuity. It cares about familiarity. It cares about comfort, about coherence. So if tension once equaled love, if getting love when you were growing up came with tension, came with obligation, your system will crave that. If your longing, your desires once equaled connection, like if the longing, if the not having, like created this chase, it created this emotional connection, then like you're going to sustain it being incomplete because it's eroticizing that gap, that frequency. If emotional chaos, if anxiety once got you attention, if drama got you attention, the psyche will start confusing instability and chaos with intimacy. And the thing is, we think like we are just drawn to these dynamics. Like, oh, this is my type of man. This is my type of relationship. When really, it is your nervous system organizing around them. That is the kink. It is an energetic kink. It is a looping architecture of an unconscious attachment. And this is where the SIP system becomes different from other healing shit. Because most healing is trying to eliminate the pattern. But in the SIP system, we are asking, what is the fucking payoff? What is the kink? What are you getting off on that's keeping the distortion alive? How are you enjoying this? How are you eroticizing this? Because the psyche will not release a distortion until it understands what the distortion is protecting. This is all about protection. Being very fucking honest with yourself. What parts of me am I protecting? What feelings am I protecting myself from feeling? Because every kink survives because it is providing you something. There is a payoff there. It can be identity. It can be safety. It can be significance. It can be intensity. It can be control. It can be fantasy. It can be existence in itself. It can be emotional stimulation. You think you want fucking freedom, but unconsciously you're still devoted. You're still being pulled into that unconscious payoff. And so the field recreates the same fucking thing over and over and over again because it's a holographic fucking reality. It can be a different man. It can be a different place. It can be a different timeline, different circumstances. But if you are walking around with the same fucking architecture, it doesn't matter. It will give you the same shit with a different mask because the field does not organize around your desire. It organizes around your subconscious loyalty. This is why we get trapped in being almost chosen, almost seen, almost safe, almost receiving, almost moving, almost expressed. Because the psyche sustains that almost. Because almost preserves identity, almost preserves motion. And the completion of the thing threatens that identity structure, that current architecture. Because many women are unconsciously organized around pursuing itself. Because if I fully arrive, if I fully land, if I let this loop complete, then who am I? And it is an identity death. You are dying to a version of you. It is not intellectual. It is somatic. Because the body literally associates the incompletion with aliveness. So when reality becomes responsive and direct and immediate and stable and available, the nervous system initially interprets it as dead, as boring. Because it's unfamiliar. And this is why we sabotage peace. Peace feels empty to a nervous system that's been addicted to emotional chaos and velocity. That is seductive. And it's not because it's pleasurable in a sense, but because it feels like something. That is the hidden eroticism of the distortion. Because the ache becomes erotically charged in the body. And this is why we unconsciously protect the patterns that drain us, that siphon our life force energy. The pattern gives us a sense of identity. And the kink says, if I stay in motion towards this thing, towards love, towards wholeness, I don't have to confront what's within me, that I'm already love. And this is a threshold for your current identity. Because the entire survival self, the ego, is built around becoming. And when you see that you never needed to become anything, you are whole and complete as is, there is a death to that. The SIP system maps exactly how this happens. The ache creates this split. You desire one thing consciously, where subconsciously you're organizing around its opposite. You want intimacy, but you are organized around protecting. You want visibility, but you are organized around invisibility. You want the overflow, but you are organized around bracing, around withholding. And it is that internal contradiction that generates friction in the field, and then it becomes the kink. The psyche discovers a way to metabolize the tension. And this is where this repetitive pattern, this emotional architecture starts to form. The kink stabilizes this ache. And that's when the clamp forms. That's when the body freezes around the pattern. And then that's when it's no longer just this concept, but it is physiological. It creates micro hesitations. It creates fantasy loops. It creates bracing. It It creates constricted expression. The woman cannot fully move because movement threatens that survival architecture. And the field will mirror this always. An incoherent movement creates fragmented manifestations, fragmented reality. The field responds to what you are embodying, the instructions your cells are giving off that they are emitting. So if your nervous system says move but don't move fully, reality receives the conflicting instructions and life gives you hesitation holographically. The field isn't punishing you. It is obeying you. That is the power that you fucking hold. It is obeying your subconscious architecture with precision. That is the power you hold. That is the power of a holographic woman. And what happens is then it creates that mask, right? It creates an identity around this core distortion. And the pattern becomes the personality. But underneath all of this identity is avoidance of direct reality. You are avoiding direct reality. Oftentimes when we think we're hyper aware or we are intuitive, we are using our awareness to substitute participating with fucking life. We're using our perception rather than our embodiment. And we get real fucking good at seeing patterns while we remain outside of life itself. We never fully enter, and that is the kink of observation, where we are monitoring our experience rather than being fully in it. And this creates dissociation, and we say it's consciousness. But we are aware of ourselves constantly. We are tracking, we are analyzing, we are witnessing, we are decoding, but we are never fully just fucking in life, fully dissolving into life. Are you seeing how this all works? And that then creates the mirage, this projected reality built from distortion. Your reality reflects distortion. Distortion becomes the reality. If the woman believes love requires effort, that her value has to be earned, that intensity equals connection, that safety comes from control, she will have a reality that matches those distortions. And that's why this isn't just emotional work. It is rearranging your reality through the inner architecture, through the blueprint within you. Because your subconscious conflict shapes perception. You are not seeing objective reality. You are seeing through survival strategies. But something happens during this evolution. Something happens when you notice that the kink is not registering an identity. You are not registering with the kink. And that is the portal. That is the key. That is the turning point, baby. Not when the pattern disappears, but when you quit identifying with it. Because at lower levels of consciousness, you have the kink appear. It creates a charge. It hooks you into someone, an identity. And then your behavior follows that identity. But at higher levels of consciousness, the kink appears. Your awareness sees it. You don't attach meaning to it. You don't attach an identity to it. And then choice becomes available. What do I choose in this given moment? Who do I choose to become in this given moment? And that is conscious creation. And that's what changes everything. You're no longer inside the pattern. You are witnessing it, and you don't have to become it. And that's why processing stops being so goddamn necessary. Because it's not required when you're not entangled with the kink itself. And when you stop doing that, the pattern loses its gravitational pull on you. It loses its power over you. And this doesn't mean that your nervous system will never produce an old impulse. That's not true. But your impulses will no longer affect you. They will no longer command your reality. It will just become an option. Pathways that you can choose consciously. You can see, oh, this is an echo. Do I choose to enter? You can see its residual architecture. Because we often think that healing means that the pattern will never appear again. But the pattern just no longer owns your perception. And that is the huge difference. That is the holographic woman. She can feel the old fucking kinks arise, and she can feel it without collapsing into it. She doesn't need to shame the shit. She doesn't need to suppress it. She doesn't need to indulge in it. She doesn't need to perform like she's transcended over it. She simply fucking looks it in the eye. She sees that shit. And she sees it without obeying. Because when you resist it, when you try to fight it, you are binding your consciousness to the pattern. But when you love it, you see it. And you bring your loving awareness to it, it unwinds it. Your loving awareness unwinds it. When you come into direct contact with the kink and you don't collapse, when you give it your loving awareness, it dissolves. That is why distortion cannot survive your presence. Your presence is your fucking power. The kink was formed in fragmentation, but when you enter it, when you penetrate it with your presence, that frozen intelligence underneath the distortion unwinds. And it changes the eros itself. Because before you were eroticizing chaos, you were eroticizing tension, but now you eroticize fucking truth. Your directness becomes erotic. Your presence becomes erotic. Your safety becomes erotic. Your intimacy becomes erotic. Your reality becomes erotic. Because you no longer need that emotional chaos to feel fucking alive. And that is a completely different energetic field. And the field will respond immediately. There are no more mixed signals. There is no more unconscious contradiction within you. There is no more you that's trying to stabilize itself through pain and suffering. And now reality can move cleanly through the ley line of your system. And that's when life starts to speed up dramatically. Because your distortion stopped interrupting life. It stopped interrupting movement. And this is terrifying to the ego. The ego wants to keep you safe, keep you familiar. And the question that we have to ask ourselves is, without the chaos, without the tension, am I still real? Because that is the death point of the survival identity. We weren't taught to exist without striving, without proving, without monitoring, without fixing, without holding, without earning. So when life becomes direct, the identity temporarily experiences that spaciousness, that availableness as annihilation. And that's why we return to old loops. Not because we want that fucking suffering, but the suffering feels familiar enough to stabilize the self. But at some point, the distortion quits feeling like life. It starts to feel old. It starts to feel like repetition. It starts to feel like a fucking cage that you just have to blow the fuck out of. And that's the moment that everything changes. Because once a woman truly sees that energetic cost of the kink and the payoff stops being fucking worth it. She stops giving her energy to it. She stops seeing the payoff is worth it. And she realizes it's fragmenting her field. It's distorting her perception. It's interrupting her life force. It is complicating shit. It is consuming her juice, her energy, her Shakti. And this is when she starts to orient into something new. It isn't perfection, but it is this deep, deep intimacy. True fucking intimacy. Intimacy with your sensation. Intimacy with your grief, with your desire, with your truth, with your reality, with your life force yourself. It is this true intimacy to be undivided with your life force. And that is the evolution of the kink. You don't become less human. You become so deeply embodied that nothing unconscious can run through your system anymore. And you quit asking, how do I get rid of the pattern? And you start asking, can I remain fucking open while I see all of this? That is power. And that question would change and shift everything. How open can I be in this moment, baby? The moment your consciousness no longer abandons itself inside distortion, your reality reorganizes immediately, and that is the liberation point of the SIP system. It is not about fixing fucking women. It is returning your life force back into flow.